I'm actually going to go with Angry Pandas as long as they play their traditional style comp.
Well, let's take a quick look at exactly what we did pick up here for the comps, as the Angry Pandas on the left-hand side are actually going to go with Arona, Vox, Arden. So very similar to what we've actually seen. I think this is the exact build that they went in Game 1.
Yes, it is.
Now look at the flip side. This is a pretty close to mirror match. Black Hawk is going to be taking not only the Rona, but the Arden and an Adagio as well.
Yeah, the thing that's going to be difficult here for Angry Pandas will be the Rona versus Vox in lane. Obviously, Vox, late game hero. We talk about it all the time, how Vox, his biggest struggle is this early game, and Rona can really punish that.
So, game number 3. This is the absolute last game that we're going to have today, guys. It's the last series, and this is the game-deciding match to figure out if Angry Panda is going to be going to tomorrow's semifinals or if it's going to be Black Hawk. 1-1 for the tie, and 4 different heroes on 2 separate teams. The big thing is going to be looking at the difference between the Adagio and the Vox. I mean, so far, we've seen Leia 3 for 3. That's totally a lie. But has actually been really showing a lot of Vox this tournament.
Yeah, and it's one of his most played and one of his best played, I feel, heroes as well. So that's why I said when we were talking about who we thought was going to win, this composition that Angry Pandas has picked, this is exactly what I would want them to play, regardless of the fact that there's no bans, there's no draft phase. This is the composition that they want ideally. And the fact that they have this one, I think the game is going to go in their favor as long as they don't let Rona walk all over the box.
Well, that's going to be a little hard because not only do we got the Vanguard for our Ronas, but the Adagio with the Gift of Fire. I mean, Cold Ice is just going to be absolutely massive in a lot of these team fights, assuming that he will live out of that one. Now, he lives out through that gank, and we're not going to be seeing that first blood yet. But Cold Ice, I mean, he's a very talented player, not only with that pedal last round, but, again, with that Adagio and this Arden kind of powering up this Rona. If she gets on top of Vox, for example, or if she gets on top of Denier, I'm not entirely too sure they're going to live through it.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it does play out. Obviously, again, the comfort picks are definitely there for both sides because there was nothing being taken away, so everyone got to play what they wanted. So it's just going to be a matter of which team is truly better and truly deserves to be in the semifinals tomorrow. As we look, Xuan getting taken down pretty low.
Now, this early on, I don't think it's going to be a tower dive, but this is something, again, we've been seeing here from the Pandas. Leia in the lane, and Xuan there to help support it. Now, with that 2v1 scenario, we've actually had a little bit of a counter to that, as Blackhawk now brings all 3 into their lane, but they did actually have Sasuke kind of waiting there as well. If the Ronas can go off into the jungle and get their own solo experience, and well, it's actually been Cold Ice, laning instead of the Adagio, but if we've seen this before, the game number 1, this is how Angry Pandas actually won. They had the 2-man lane with Leia on that Vox. They were able to pressure out their opponents, which hasn't really been working up against Cold Ice, at least this round. And then we let the Rona go off into the experience, get that solo, and get level 6 very quick.
Yeah, and so Siska obviously going to be maxing out this Gift of Fire here. The damage from it, from just Gift of Fire alone, is actually pretty massive early on. But we'll have to see. That's going to be the Rona getting a really good trade in onto Leia as Cold Ice. Again, Rona is going to win that matchup. Rona is going to win trades early on against Leia, but it's the matter of how well they can stave that off and if they can get to that late game where Leia's Vox will just completely take over.
Now, it is also, good to note there that Cold Ice, with those trades, as long as he keeps up with that the creep score and those minion kills, the Book of Eulogies is just going to be paying off in dividends in order to make those trades as they are. Now, Denier is actually going to be chased down here a little bit here by Bash. You see Sasuke off to the side there as well. In fact, it's going to be the entire 3-man collapse, and I just don't think the Rona's going to be getting out of that one. Now, Xuan, he's going to be there into the mid. If Denier can, take a mercenary, sure, that would be fine, but unfortunately, he's just really caught out, and that's going to be the first blood.
Yeah, just, again, very aggressive, and aggressive at times when you really shouldn't be. It seems to be the story. It was the story of game number 2 for Angry Pandas, and, for them, you have to hope it's not going to be the story of game number 3. but that's definitely what just happened there.
All right, so the gold mine will survive. Bash and Schwen, you know, brothers in arms, so to speak. Just going to be, you know, a little bit of a tussle. It's more of a wet noodle fight at this point. But Lele in that lane, again, like, not really faring too well up against Cold Ice. 45 creeps to the 41, and Schwen's going to come in. A little bit of damage coming in from a very long shot from Sasuke as well. And, like, Schwen just can't really do what he did in game 1 and help babysit Lele if this is the way that the trades are going to go.
Yeah, again, the damage from Gift of Fire coming out of Sasiska is just too much to deal with in this early stages of the game until they get some shield, as Schwen's going to be getting chased down now. And will it be enough to collapse?
Into the
Looks
fray,
like
one
it
hit,
should
fire,
be.
and
it
it's
will.
it. Yeah. Doesn't even need a foe splitter at the end of that one, but Blackhawk 2-0. We're not creating some very good opportunities here for the Pandas as they're starting to slip a little bit. And Blackhawk, they're going to go straight for the gold mine. Not really a big contest at all. You get the kill, you got the positioning right there. You can immediately start it up. A decent gold payout will, again, like, start catapulting this gold lead. And if they keep up with this aggression, it's definitely going to be a repeat of yesterday where Blackhawk will defeat the Pandas. And unfortunately, the Pandas go home instead of get another chance.
Yeah, and they looked so strong in game number 1. Even in game 2, they had moments of greatness, but it just hasn't completely come together for the Angry Pandas just yet. But again, this game is far from over. We're still only 6.5 minutes in, and the gold deficit is only 2,000. We have seen teams come back from significantly further down.
There's a lot of red in the item build so far, as you know, everyone that's going weapon. Of course, they do have that early swift shooter on Schwen, as he is wont to get. And Lele is actually finished up there with that alternating current, and Bash, right? Again, brothers in arms, a little bit of a tussle, but ultimately, yeah, nothing really going to go down yet.
Yeah, everyone is kind of grouping up around this turret, and that's a lot of damage being done to this turret. Blackhawk may even be able to pick this one up.
Well, Lele's going to be back in town, but you're right. Turret's not going to be down and out. Blackhawk, again, a little bit of a cash infusion. 3K, big burst. Gets the stun on top of Schwen, and that should be enough. Yeah, the red mist comes in. Bash and Cold Ice going to be both living through this one as Lele and Sasuke is just, again, trying to trade back and forth. Lele will pay for it. The red mist not hitting Bash at all, and Danir is just not going to have enough in the bank to pick up Sasuke. That is an ace this early on, and Blackhawk jumping out far and ahead of the Pandas.
Yeah, now they're going to get some solid damage onto this second turret as well. I don't believe they're going to be able to take it, as it is the Arden and
down half.
The
down
Adagio. What?
Down 8.
Maybe?
That is a phenomenal turnaround. 2 turrets and an ace.
That's huge. That is a massive gold swing, as now all of a sudden it's up at around 5,000 gold. So all of a sudden, within the last minute or two, a 3,000 gold increase in the difference there for Blackhawk. A really, really good job of taking advantage of that ace that they picked up.
Well, 5 kills to 1 isn't the story. It's the fact that we have nearly a double factor going on into the cash. I mean, 10,500 compared to the 6. Like, this is the early game lead that the Pandas needed last round with that that Koshka Fortress. And unfortunately, I mean, there's no Koshka Fortress anywhere. We have basically the best of the comfort picks here. This is what worked game number 1 from the Angry Pandas, but Blackhawk has really just turned this right back around. Schwen is going to start things off there with that gauntlet. He's just trying to separate the teams here, but jeez. The Barbarians going back and forth with the red mist, just bringing everybody low. And Lele, with that wait for it, it's just not going to matter. He's going to be the one to actually go down after all that.
Yeah, Lele was not able to get anything going in that fight, and instead ends up being the one that is sort of out of position after things had started to calm down. But we are going to be getting another pause coming out here. Our first pause of game number 3.
Just feels like another pause. We just came out of one, but... game number 3 with that pause, I mean, it was basically a Beyblade battle right there. I mean, the 2 tops of the Ronas just spinning and everybody just getting real hurt. All of a sudden, Lele is just kind of left to his own devices into the 3-man clan right there, and it did not do him well.
Yeah, no, it didn't quite work out the way that Angry Pandas were hoping. As instead, they're now the ones that are finding themselves pretty deep into an early game deficit.
Early game deficit of 4,500, 5,000,
yeah,
somewhere in that regard.
It's going to be a tough road back for Angry Pandas here in game number 3 if they want to move on to the semifinals.
Now, remember, that last engagement as well, I mean, it was Schwenschwen that started it. He went in with that gauntlet, and even separating like a 2-1, and the focus, it just wasn't enough. And then, they turned back around. The Red Mists did their work. Lele is now down and out. I don't think we can really get like a turret out of this one as well. But, I mean, the damage is definitely really starting to show, especially in the cash and the items.
Yeah, absolutely. And Blackhawk, again, they have the ability to be more aggressive early on, and they're taking full advantage of that. As the game goes later, Angry Pandas can potentially turn it around, but it goes back to what we were talking about in game number 2, where if you build up a large enough lead early on in the game, then the other team having a late game composition isn't going to matter, because the larger a lead you build up, the later in the game they need it to go in order to finally turn it around.
All right, so the Vox this round went for the alternating current. That's definitely something that you keep touting very good things about. Unfortunately, it hasn't quite worked out yet. But what the differences between the Aftershock and the alternating current, like what is the biggest, like why do you prefer one over the other?
I prefer the Aftershock, or sorry, the alternating current.
Yeah, let's get it right. Yeah.
Purely because of the fact that Vox is so focused on auto attacks. I mean, his Sonic Zoom, when used with a target in range that has resonance, is a free 2 attacks. If you use it properly, you can get 4 attacks off in a very rapid time span. That means you're getting 2 procs of that alternating current just off of one ability use. And it gives you such a big burst of damage, even early on. And obviously, the more crystal power you build, the more damage it's going to get for you. Whereas the Aftershock, it's only that one attack that gets boosted after you use either the Pulse or the Sonic Zoom.
Right.
And it is really good against teams that are tanky, because you are getting that % health. But I just personally, I feel like it ends up always being more effective, or at least not always, but generally being more effective to go for that alternating current.
Now, something else that we've seen predominantly here in this tournament is not quite the rise of Adagio, but a very liberal use of him, especially with the Rona. And I gotta say, it's been working out a lot in these fights, because if you have the Rona going up against Rona, even identical items, you bring in that Agent of Wrath, you bring in that Gift of Fire, and that's a very different outcome.
Yeah, it's a ton of extra damage that gets applied thanks to the Adagio, as it looks like we are going to be getting back into the game. So now we get to see if they will get this turret. They have the minion candies on.
Oh, jeez, I was about to say I'd be very surprised if that's going to be the case, but we're 9 minutes in, and all 3 turrets, that choke point turret, which has been a very big point of contention for a lot of these teams, is just already out, and I mean, there's no cracking for another 5.5 minutes.
Yeah, that turret went down extremely quickly. I didn't think it was going to be that fast. I thought they would have a chance at taking it. I didn't think they would just take it with absolute ease, as now Blackhawk, with that extra gold in their pocket now, as this lead has jumped up to almost 7,000 gold here at 10 minutes. And Kraken is, as you mentioned, 5 minutes away, but there will be a full gold mine payout before then.
That gold mine payout will actually, I think, push us very close into that double factor. And again, like that's, if you're earning twice the amount per minute that your opponents are, well, 10, 15 minutes later, you're going to be in a very good spot to end out this game. And Blackhawk, again, like everything has just been pretty perfect for them. 1 death in 10 minutes. They're controlling out this gold mine. They captured a bit earlier. They have 3 turrets under their belt, and pretty much just full control of the jungle at this point as well. And
Silsiska now with a 4-0-2 score, having the crystal infusion as well, and also having rushed an alternating current on the Adagio, able to just buff himself if needed and still put out a ton of damage. And because the extra damage, the % damage increase is actually even larger if he uses it on himself.
Well, all right, so will he be a little greedy? Will he be doing some good things here for Cold Ice? Sasika's actually sitting at 4-0. Cold Ice there at 2-1, but there's going to be a gauntlet, and well, it doesn't quite actually cage Leia, but again, the aggression is here. That's actually a very big cooldown now to be missing in this next fight, but Blackhawk is really just so far ahead. I mean, they're just not even taking damage from the poke. Denier is just not going to be surviving through that one. Wait for it doesn't actually hit anyone there from Leia either, and even though it's the Blackhawk, going in with the invade, missing out the gauntlet. They're still coming ahead in these trades.
Yeah, they did lose out a little bit in terms of gold just because they obviously the more farm is there, but Denier.
Oh, that Vanguard at the very end of it, into the fray, back into the safety of his shopping area. But my goodness, I mean, that I think is a perfect example of just the difference right now of the two teams at this 12-minute mark.
Yeah, looking at the items, obviously you can just see the disparity between, you look at the roamers, Zwen with a Warhorn, and that's it. You look at BlH, actually he did just complete the Crucible, but he's had the Warhorn and the Fountain of Renewal, as well as a Blazing Salvo, so maybe he might be looking to pick up, just take that idea from Zwen and go ahead and get a breaking point, but he is going to get that weapon infusion.
Now that is a
Zwen
thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make this a verb.
Just borrowing it from his opponent here, saying, hey, that seemed to work out pretty well. Let's go ahead and give it a shot.
Seeing all these kind of weapon builds coming out on our supports. We also had a Catherine a little bit earlier with that Aftershock. That was kind of a pretty cool kind of thing to see. But no Catherine's here, unfortunately. 6-1 again. Like Blackhawk, not a lot for them to do at this point. I mean, they're farming out the jungles. They're really just waiting for Kraken, and they're making sure that the Pandas are limited in the amount of farm that they are afforded. And 9,500 compared to the 17.8. If we can kill somebody, if we can just burst down like Denier or something, we might start seeing a little bit more aggression towards these turrets. But Blackhawk at this point, it's a slow noose, and there's absolutely no danger for them, even if they wait this out.
And looks like they're actually going to go for it.
Sort of, yeah. Cold Eyes actually, all right, Barrier making a Venn diagram there. But again, like this, there's nothing to do with these turrets. Like you can't sustain, even with those item advantages. Having two turrets in that fight is a massive, massive turnaround to bring it to a little bit more of a fair fight for the Angry Pandas. So Blackhawk, I think the best thing at this point is just wait and see.
Yeah, they're going to go out and they're going to take away the jungle, obviously healing up in the process. And we're just about a minute away from Kraken. So they should be able to just secure that siege weapon and then push in with it. They have a very large lead at this stage of the game, and
it's going to be an immense gold payout to boot as well.
And they already do have one of the minion mines as well. And it looks like they're going to pass over the second one for now. We'll see if they go back and take it. Looks like, yep, there they are.
Well, remember, every time that they take one of these minion mines, yes, the minions get bigger, but they're also worth more. So they are donating gold to the cause of the Pandas. But at the same time, if you don't really care because you're this far ahead, it's just going a little bit more farther in terms of making sure that the Pandas don't even leave base.
Yeah, not only that, but when you're about to grab Kraken as well in 30 seconds, it's having these huge minions as well as Kraken. It gives you that little bit of extra pushing power just in case you need it.
So now the Panda's got to make a decision. Do we defend base against double huge minions? Because, that's something you have to do when you only have 2 turrets left in the game. Or do you leave base and attempt to go get the Kraken, or at least steal, or try to contest? And either way, if it doesn't work, it's just a bad situation.
So BlH taking the Zwen idea and adapting it and tweaking it slightly, getting an Aftershock on the Arden, as this is going to be a Kraken being taken very easily by Blackhawk. Now it's definitely on the back foot here for Angry Pandas.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about this, but the 15-minute mark, they take it in 20 seconds. There is actually no turrets in this lane. It's going to come down to the defenses of the Vein Crystal, and Angry Pandas, I gotta say, I mean, that was right there, shoulder tap, right there from Zwen. It's like, don't worry, we got this. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to disagree.
Yeah, it's gonna take a miraculous defense here underneath these turrets as the Kraken is slowly approaching, and we've seen how much damage is on the side of Blackhawk. The infusions are out for both teams. BlH, the only one without one. as we are going to see how things play out here. This could be the final fight of the day.
Well then, one turret down. Venn diagram is now out and about, but that Kraken, I think, could just win the game by itself. Schwen trying to do his best here for the defense. Danir is actually the only healthy member here of the Pandas, and even then, they got to make a beeline for that health, and this is it. Black Hawk is going to once more kick the Angry Pandas down the hill, and they will eliminate them here from the tournament as that vein